again today, and on the day that the swimming should have started at the Tokyo Olympics, we're here at the venue for the 2012 Games, now a vital community pool, to see how all the social distancing measures and safety protocols are working.
Why being obese or overweight puts people at greater risk of serious illness or death from coronavirus.
Don't book a holiday unless your passport is up to date. The Home Office warns that it is working through a backlog of 400,000 applications.
Good morning. We've got a fairly unsettled weekend ahead with some heavy downpours at times today. Could be some thunderstorms around as well. Tomorrow, still some heavy showers.
A bit of an early riser this morning. Bloody hell, it's early for me. This is 8 o'clock.
Morning, it's Saturday the 25th of July. Our top story on breakfast this morning. 4 months after they shut their doors, indoor gyms and
top story, gyms. We've always got a shitty throat first thing in the morning.
But there are concerns that some leisure facilities will remain permanently closed due to financial pressures caused by the pandemic. Earlier on breakfast, Councillor Gerald Vernon-Jackson explained the situation some places are facing.
Lots of leisure facilities, pools, sports centres, etc. are nearing the end of their lives. They're 25 years old, 30 years old. And there's a really difficult point where councils have to decide, are we going to invest in building a new pool, a new leisure centre? And if it looks...
That's what it's about, shutting down socialising areas.
My fear is lots of them will go. And the government has given some support to leisure centres and pools.
The Great Reset, the New World Order.
But most councils now run them through a leisure trust, and the government have given no support to them at all.
Councillor Gerald Vernon-Jackson, leader of Portsmouth City Council, who leads for the Local Government Association on Culture, Tourism and Sport. Speaking to us earlier, let's go live to Twickenham. Katie Austin's in the gym bright and early this morning. Morning, Katie. How have they been preparing for reopening there?
Good morning, yes, I'm at a David Lloyd Health and Fitness Club, which has reopened this morning, and as you can see, it's pretty busy already, actually. Suddenly,
it's pretty busy. I don't think so. All they look sort of dressed same and everything. Them three there.
Different. You don't have to wear a mask.
It looks pretty busy.
Social distancing measures in place. There are masks.
And they all happen beyond there, right behind it.
Some of the
8 o'clock.
To make sure there's enough space for people. You're being asked to sanitise the equipment before and after use.
Everything's always staged with footage. Everything's already in place.
Now also you're being asked when you turn up to come dressed in your gym gear to avoid using the changing rooms, although when people use swimming pools they will be able to get changed.
Avoid using the changing rooms.
Now other changes will include you'll need to book when you do exercise classes. They'll have reduced capacity again so that people can stay apart. But this is a really important day for gyms and other leisure facilities because they have been shut for 4 months now in England until...
Yeah, what a fucking disgrace.
Memberships across the sector as people
Who would have thought the government would stop you from keeping fucking fit?
Which have risen in popularity. So the hope is...
That's how much they care about you. Don't want you to get a virus. They love you that much.
Come back to get exercising again in an environment like.
But they stop you keeping fit.
Just from a financial point of view, obviously gyms vary in the size of the businesses and the number of people that they can accommodate.
So I can't get through to people.
Private chains, but lots of them have financial worries.
Everyone fucking believes that the government love each one of us individually so much.
But they're very lucky here.
They don't want you to get a virus. They care that much about you.
A couple of bits of equipment out of use. They've got space to space everything out. But I've been speaking to some small businesses as well, small health clubs who are going to have really limited numbers that they're going to.
Sometimes when I do these videos, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. I probably am.
Financial help, for example, but it's been so long since they closed. A lot of that money has run out. So
just trying, get through to the brain deads, like
pick up their memberships. But that is very
think logical.
There is still a long way to go before things are back to how they were.
No one dissects the facts, do they?
Well, being obese or overweight puts you at greater risk of serious
fucking hell, man.
According to a new report from Public Health England.
Yes, the report found that being severely obese increased the likelihood of dying by 40%.
Shouting causes coronavirus, farting causes coronavirus.
Science correspondent Helen Briggs.
Obese causes coronavirus.
Lockdowns brought new challenges for those struggling with their weight. The chance for
If you don't comply to the masks, you're classed as a psychopath. Seen all this on the internet.
Public Health England says the case
And everyone believes this.
obesity has never been stronger. Losing weight can bring
Boris Johnson pushing obesity.
May also protect against the risk
Causes coronavirus. Coming from him. Fat bastard.
A review of the evidence, it's found that coronavirus patients with obesity are much more likely to become ill or die.
Yeah, he ended up in hospital and survived it though, didn't he?
Professor Susan Jedd.
I mean, he's not obese, but he's fucking not Mr. Slim, is he?
The bigger the risk.
Being overweight increases the chances of insulin resistance. It puts up your blood pressure. And all of these extra pressures and strains on the body are
all this stuff, what they're pushing out as though they really care about each one of us individually.
Nearly 2/3
Lose weight, we don't want you to die.
They should be. If
The government loves every one of you.
this could have a big effect
All you fat people.
on our overall risk.
Government want you to lose weight because they care so much about you as an individual.
The report calls for government
They love you.
action on curbing obesity.
We know that people have the intention to improve things, but you get tripped up all the time.
They don't mind sending you to a fake war though,
You often have a face with bars of chocolate on special.
where you come back in a wooden box or
And those undermine what you intend to do. So
limbs
you know
missing.
people need help.
They don't mind that. They're worried about your weight, but they don't mind sending you to the war.
They'll include new restrictions on how junk food
That is the logic,
and advertised.
folks.
Helen Briggs, BBC News.
I'm sorry that I've got to say these type of things, but that's how I see it and dissect it.
Up-to-date passport. A backlog of more than 400,000 UK passport applications has built up because of disruption caused by coronavirus. Officials say they will prioritise.
They don't give a flying rat's bollocks about you.
Spain remains on the list of reduced risk countries which can be visited without the need to...
How can they give a fuck when they try and depopulate the planet? 500 million to sustain
Aragon and
Earth
Catalonia regions, including Barcelona, are currently being
is their goal.
leave their homes only for essential activities.
That's what it's all about, all this.
Is apparently considering closing its border with Spain.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have distanced themselves from a book which claims to give a detailed account
Bill Gates is all about it.
in their relations with other members of the royal family. The book, Finding Freedom, serialised by The Times, suggests Harry and Meghan felt their complaints were not being taken seriously. A spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess said they hadn't been interviewed or contributed to the book.
Lockdown and coronavirus has given a problem for soap operas, of course, on the radio.
The present term, lockdown.
They're back now, and the subject of coronavirus has finally arrived on the cobbled streets of Weatherfield, with the residents of Coronation Street making the soap's first reference to it.
Yes, I noticed last night. I was going to say this if I did a video.
You really think that's a coincidence? You might have got that corona.
More reference. There, look.
A guard or a visitor or something.
Last night's programme, the character Yasmin Nazir was suspected of having contracted coronavirus, while others mentioned COVID-19. The episode was the first to be filmed entirely with social distancing measures in place, and he's got his crutch there.
Coronation Street propaganda pushers. Who would have thought, eh?
9 minutes past 8. Good to have you.
They didn't show you everything else in it, though.
Now, if you're still
I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you, but I was watching it with somebody.
Needing to quarantine on your return to the UK.
And they even showing you all the bloody signs in the background about social distancing and 2 metres.
The so-called reduced risk countries.
Oh, you got to get that in.
Next week, the Baltic states of Estonia and Latvia will be on
There's no difference here with
and the Caribbean islands of...
They've been doing racism and all sorts. They're all part of what the news push at the time.
Already on the list, including
shows like
France, Spain,
Coronation Street, EastEnders. Every single one of them, they all push the same narratives.
Prepared to self-isolate when you get
Bullshit.
back home, and that will come as a blow to the 2.5 million British people who go to Portugal every year, and of course to the hotels, the bars and the...
There was a night I watched every single Hollyoaks, Coronation Street, EastEnders,
ambassador to the UK. He's
Home and Away, whatever, I don't know. Well, no, not Home and Away, that's another country, isn't it?
Good morning to you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us, Mr. Ambassador.
What's the other one? There was another one anyway, but they were all pushing the same shit.
That Portugal is not on the list of safe countries for the UK.
Well, thank you for inviting me. you said that many British will be disappointed for not being able to travel to Portugal maybe this summer. And we share that disappointment with our British friends. My government was disappointed. I was disappointed as ambassador once I worked a lot on this dossier. And of course also our community, you know that we have a large...
This guy's on high risk of getting COVID, isn't he?
Certainly also disappointed.
COVID-19.
Obviously would like to travel this summer to Portugal to meet their family, their friends, and the fact that Portugal is under quarantine, so to say, or the travellers coming from Portugal will be under
I don't know, man. Yesterday I didn't feel that fucking great, man. In my sanity.
As I said,
went out and about. I just
explain the situation with coronavirus in Portugal.
Fucking world's just full of fucking morons.
Do you have any particular hotspots?
Full of idiots what believe it all. They absolutely believe this.
This time,
epidemic's real.
9,000 cases and about
99% they've all got internet, but they can't be bothered for spend
relatively low
a few hours just browsing and seeking truth. Fuck that, I'll just listen to news.
The virus in specific regions.
News tells the truth, I'll just believe it.
Around Lisbon, something in the north, but these peaks are very well identified and they are controlled. The rate of infections on those sites have been decreasing, and our reading of the situation is indeed that this is under control, these peaks are under control, and the situation will improve day by day.
And what are you trying to do on a diplomatic level, talking to your contemporaries in the British government, to try to change things?
Well, it's, I would say, classical diplomacy, providing information, analysis, and in this case, which has a scientific environment, involvement, and is, of course, providing data, figures, graphics, statistics.
I think almost 20%.
Everything you mentioned has all been fucking bogus stuff.
The United Kingdom. So, how damaging could it be for you if you're not able to sort this situation out?
Well, I think it's well known the importance of the British travellers, visitors for our economy, and particularly for the economy of the island of Madeira and Algarve. We receive each year about 2 million British visitors, or even more. And of course, if many or a great part of these visitors will not come this year to Portugal...
Well, I don't own a passport. I've never left country, so I'm not asked. Well, that one will bother me.
To us this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Manuel Lobo Antunes is the Portuguese ambassador to the UK.
What you done to see you don't miss, I say.
The travel editor of The Independent, Simon Calder. And just your response to that, Simon. How long do you think it's going to be before Portugal is able to prove that it's not one of those high-risk countries?
It's impossible to say, Rachel. I've actually got quite a lot of bets running on social media where I have to buy people a Sagres beer if Portugal is still on the must quarantine list by August. So we've got just a week or so left. It's a really tricky position, and there must be some...
Crush the economy, make everyone dependent more on the state.
Say, sorry, we know that millions of people want to
It's one of the goals, isn't it?
Probably 1 million people are booked to travel there in August and September, but
one of the end goals, though,
keep this effective
as a lot of us
and of course for anybody
who have got the brain cells to realise,
for the holiday companies,
is that jab.
Simply don't know whether they're going to be able to run those trips or not. Having said that, there are right now many tens of thousands.
When second wave comes, prepare to roll your sleeve up.
Flights are continuing pretty much as normal.
Yeah, that's interesting. And clearly no problems with Italy, Simon. It looks absolutely beautiful where you are at the moment. I don't know if we're invading your summer family holiday or what. But I'm sure
I don't know if we're invading your holiday.
Up to date and ready to
Lying
go.
bitch, she knows exactly where he is, she knows he's working, she knows he's not on fucking holiday. Do you think if he was on fucking holiday, he'd be talking to her?
Well, we've got some news overnight.
See what I mean? The lies that they spend.
Background
and chat shit.
I calculate that 2 million.
Why would you come out with such garbage?
In the 4 months of lockdown, roughly at a rate of 500,000 a month, and about 40% of those are children, because of course their passports run out annoyingly quickly every 5 years. There are, we know, 410,000 passports caught in the backlog at the passport office, which has been on reduced staffing, understandably, since lockdown. But overnight, the Home Office has said, right, if you can demonstrate that you applied for a renewed passport in the last at least 4 weeks ago, and you can demonstrate, maybe through an airline booking, that you are due to travel in the next 2 weeks, we will expedite your passport renewal. We will get it to you in 5 working days. Now, that only affects renewals. It doesn't help people, particularly applying for a adult passport.
Pretty boring this morning, this news. That's why I'm not really saying that much.
We will do everything we can if you
but nevertheless, I'll give you a piece of it.
Make sure that you get away on holiday. Of course, many of the 2 million passports that have expired, people are simply not interested in travelling this summer anyway. They haven't made booking.
I had to tell...
What I want us to know is, don't book any holidays until you check that your passport is...
A mate who we haven't seen, an old mate who we haven't seen for a couple of years, well, doesn't live far from me, saw him in shop yesterday, and I had to tell him what some facts were yesterday. But might have lost him as a mate might have lost him as someone who, you know, conflict between us now.
But of course, in theory,
because of what I said.
You will not.
But I'll talk about it in another video.
Flight or a ferry if your passport has expired. Having said that, of course, there's plenty of anecdotal evidence that people have somehow slipped through the net, but I don't advise it.
No, it's a very, very big risk to take, isn't it? And just in terms of taking the temperature for public appetite for going abroad, lots of people...
That's what it's going to cause all this. It's definitely causing divide.
And all the more crucial for the struggling travel industry.
All those who don't believe you, their opinions...
Huge amount of uncertainty, as we've been hearing this morning.
The branding and...
parts of Spain, Portugal still
you know,
being on the...
scouring at you and...
all kinds of uncertainties. I mean, there might suddenly be...
People aren't going to have it, are they?
Which, by the way, has got a lot
your opinion is...
Now than it did
you're crackers, aren't you?
Ago. If there were a spike here, I might possibly, Rachel, have to spend...
Government couldn't do this sort of thing on humanity.
No. There's an awful lot of anxiety out there.
Fuck me, have they looked back in history all the fucking shit governments have done?
Risks involved in travelling, and nobody can pretend that passenger aviation and social distancing are remotely compatible, then the chances are you're going to have a really enriching, enjoyable trip, and you're going to have a fantastic experience, which is just what you might need after 4 months of lockdown. But it won't be for everyone, and you need to be able to tolerate all those uncertainties. We've even heard people being told, oh, you were on a flight with somebody who was later tested COVID-19 positive. And
bullshit.
As well. It's a gamble.
It would be a terrible hardship to be stuck there for another 2 weeks, Simon, and I feel bad for you if it happens.
You know, they've got this COVID government at their mercy.
Just show us a little bit more of the view.
Because they could spin anything through the TV, anything they want. Oh, 5 found with COVID this morning. Oh, 10 tested. Oh, 20 in this nurse, you know. Whatever they spin through that TV, people swallow.
Italy, obviously one of the countries hardest hit by the coronavirus.
It's at their own mercy.
When you go out,
pluck it like strings, whatever they want, whenever they want.
You're going to be wearing a mask, but generally things are pretty relaxed, and of course some
manipulate the public as much as they want. We've seen the manipulation on a massive scale.
Okay, well just duck down for us so we get the full view then.
Go lock yourself down in your fucking house, and everyone did it.
I don't know if any of you of the British...
Clap on your doorstep, everyone did it.
Lucas, maybe, no. And he suggested now things could have been done differently.
This was in an interview with the BBC's Laura Koonsberg.
Boris Johnson backtracking himself. Bullshit. They know what they were doing from word go.
Which has now taken more than...
Well, that's how they'll get away with it. Oh, we made a mistake.
When you look back at this crisis, everybody can see that this was something that was new, that we didn't understand in the way that we would have liked in the first few weeks and months. And I think
how can they not understand it?
The single thing that we didn't see at the beginning was the extent to which it was being transmitted asymptomatically from person to person. that wasn't clear to us or to anybody.
Boris Johnson now speaking to Laura Koonsberg yesterday. Let's talk to Dr. Chand Nagpal. He's the Council Chair of the British Medical Association.
We understood it thoroughly. It's a full orchestration. What can't you understand when you've orchestrated it all?
We'll talk about what the Prime Minister said in a moment, but to accentuate the positives, what do you think the government got right?
Nothing.
I think very early on...
Mind you, they did, didn't they? They got it all right. They succeeded in their brainwashing the masses, so yeah, they got something right.
So we had a situation when, at the end of...
But it's just all wrong what they're doing on civilization.
There was a very clear policy that anyone infected would have their contacts traced and isolated. So that, I think, started off in the right footing. I think it went wrong later on. And I suppose the other positive, if I can call it that, is that we did create the capacity in the NHS to manage the impact of increased numbers of patients with COVID-19. But I would also want to say there was a negative there as well, because that was at the expense of millions of patients who did not have COVID not receiving their care, because we didn't have enough capacity in the NHS at the outset to do both.
So what did you think of what the Prime Minister said yesterday? It's a shift in emphasis, having previously said things went as well as we could have done them. Now that's changed a little.
Well, it's clear that things didn't go as well as they should have done, because we've had, sadly, a mortality rate in the UK that is far higher than any of our European comparator nations. And remember, we went into this pandemic with the head start of actually it starting later than in Spain and Italy. So we had something to learn from them, and in spite of that, we've done so much worse. And in fact, the true death toll is higher than 45,000. That's those based on death certificates, but there are many others who
you just said it.
COVID-19 that are
based on death certificates.
Mortality that, as I've said just now, that we
fraud as many death certificates as possible. There's your high death mortality rate.
Who didn't have COVID-19 but were not able to receive treatment during the
guy fucking dies in a motorbike accident.
Add that into the mix. We have done
died of COVID
than other European nations. So there's a very serious issue here. It's not about blame. It is about learning, and it's about being honest about the fact that we did things.
About being honest.
And I think there are reasons.
Government wouldn't know honesty if it bit them on the arse.
Is to learn now, and what the BMA, British Medical Association, alongside many other Royal Colleges and other...
we're living in total corruption.
...is a rapid review, so that we can now have an independent rapid review and make sure that whatever we do from this moment onwards is...
When a government control you in the manner that they have...
...approaches to minimise further casualties...
ordering you to do things beyond comprehension.
Of course, for the government...
That's when you're living in a fascist state.
This was a new virus. It's not something that had been seen before. So to some extent, everyone...
Why can't people be themselves in this if it was a real pandemic?
I think that's...
and make their own initiatives.
It is a new virus, and we wouldn't have had the answers right.
Why can't you choose
But there were many things that
to do what you want to do, keep yourself safe or whatever you want to do as a person? You don't need a government to tell you what to do. Like the government care to keep you safe. You should be allowed to do what you want to do. Hang on, Mr. Johnson, and rest of your cronies. I'll decide if I want to keep myself safe from a fucking virus, if there was one.
When it came to the whole approach around PPE, we
don't need you looking after me.
Knowing the levels of PPE that were going to be required based on seeing what was going on in Italy and Spain, and yet what we were told was that there was enough stockpile. That was the assurance given to doctors like us. And when it came to it, we didn't have the equipment to protect ourselves.
Oh, they've had plenty of PPE. Have you seen all the shit they were dancing around in, all TikTok videos?
It was around the fact that the supplies weren't...
Looked like they were full of fucking PPE to me.
The army were drafted in. And having again...
sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, I've interviewed people who were on the front line who said that at times they came close to...
That's where they needed most of the PPE, making the videos, wasn't it?
It was a major issue, but they have said, people who...
Why didn't they make the TikTok videos without all the PPE shit on?
Enough. They got by.
I think that that first of all, you're right that we managed to get by, but that should not have been the case, and we got by at times.
Clearly, they had enough.
Stocks had almost completely run out. And remember that the whole idea of having COVID and non-COVID wards was again, I think, a flawed approach, because the infection was spreading even within hospitals. And
COVID and non-COVID wards. No, what he meant was
died.
Living ward and death ward.
Come from a BAME background. And
those who we choose, we want you to live, go down that aisle. Those who are burden on society, we're sending you down that ward.
That was being handed out.
That's what I've heard from someone who lives nearby,
were faulty. So
a relative who's actually in charge of commanding that, and he actually told me that.
That's what we were told.
He said she's literally in a life and death ward situation. Live go down that side, death go down that side. We're just going to let you go into your demise or whatever, however the element eliminate you.
They were, but as I said, what I think was a problem for us is we were being given assurance.
Save government a lot of money, eh?
With reality. So we weren't told there were shortages, we were told they were there, but they just weren't being delivered. And I think
plus getting rid of all the true minds in society.
There needs to be openness.
Those who might have half a chance of understanding what's happening in the world today.
Also a problem was around the testing.
Get rid of the great mind.
This was a new virus.
Eliminate them.
Absolutely clear that the way you deal with a pandemic is to contact trace and isolate. And what happened at the beginning of March?
The way you deal with the pandemic is contact trace.
And the UK government took a view or a policy of self-isolation.
So that's how we've dealt with
people in the community.
Previous pandemics in the history, have we? Contact trace.
I remember very clearly when the WHO, the World Health Organization, were using this mantra, the Director General, of test. And I remember at the time we weren't doing the testing. So the infection really rapidly expanded. And what we didn't get from the government was clarity as to why it had literally abandoned that contact tracing approach. And that, I think, resulted in far greater spread, when what we should have been doing at that stage is making sure that we knew who had the infection, who were the contacts.
Have you noticed people? Come on, you know, those of you who look at these videos here, what I'm doing or whatever anywhere else, but
the independent review, which
the only place you're seeing all this
into the coronavirus pandemic.
madness and talk about deaths.
Right, stay with us. We've got the headlines coming up for you.
It's through the TV.
Fire away, please, your question.
You go on streets and ask people.
Debate. Our audience members join us.
You go on streets and ask people anything. And ask people questions. Nobody knows anybody who's been ill with COVID, had COVID, died of COVID. I mean, you'll get your odd bozo saying, well, I do. A cousin whose dad's passed away, or his granddad. Yeah, he had my mate's granddad. He was 85. He had COVID. Reason why everyone was of age who died, I believe, is because the government have been covering their tracks. Like when they said, eight children in this nursing home that contracted COVID. It's covering your tracks, because they know. 8 chad we can eliminate and get rid of. So we'll just tell through TV they've got COVID. Great way of getting rid of folk, isn't it? They've all got COVID, all old people. People have said to me, do you find this strange? It was all in the old category range. People who had COVID. It was said in the early days they'll target the old folk, from people who are in the nous and know what we're getting down. They'll target the old folk, and that's been evident to people like myself, who can see through the lies, that they've targeted old people. Chuck in the odd kid, which they did do. Can't make it look too obvious. We'll just drop in the odd kid that they have had COVID. And all the other bullshit videos, what they've said, people who've had it just makes you fucking sick, doesn't it, to be honest with you? It makes you sick. Anyway, not much exciting with the news today, not for a really pick at, but That'll do anyway.